Hello everyone, welcome to my session. My name is Chen, and the topic for talk today is LCDPwn, breaking enterprise scenes with Layer 2 Discovery Protocol vulnerabilities again. Before we start, let me introduce myself first. I'm a senior security engineer from code safety team of LegitSec at TIC Group. Currently, I'm mainly focused on IoT and protocol security, and have found more than 100 vulnerabilities in devices from Synology, Microsoft, Ubiquiti, Cisco, and so on. Also, I was a speaker at conferences like POC and Hacker in the Box before. Here we go now. This talk is broken down into 4 parts. And part 1, I'll start off by introducing what LCDPwn is and the motivation behind it. In part 2, I'll spend some time describing the CDP and LLDP protocol, as well as the differences. In part 3, I'll depict our LCDPwn research and present our study into several common CDP and LLDP components. Part 4 is a summary of this talk. Start with the introduction. What's LCDPwn? LCDPwn is a series of zero-day vulnerabilities in Layer 2 protocol, CDP and LLDP, which affects several CDP and LLDP components. As a result, nearly 70 kinds of devices from 30 world vendors are vulnerable. The following are the CVE IDs assigned at the moment. And a rough classification of found bugs are as follows, like out-of-bounds write, buffer overflow, memory leak, and so on. While some of them will only cause delay of service, some may lead to code execution. Cisco Discovery Protocol is a Cisco proprietary protocol, and mainly used in Cisco manufactured devices. As a result, the affected CDP components mainly exist in these devices. While link layer discovery protocol is a more general and vendor-neutral protocol, there are many implementations for it. During our research, several common LLDP components are found to be widely used and vulnerable. Among them, the first 4 are from open source projects, and the last 3 are closed source components. These 2 protocols are common on network devices like switch and router. We have evaluated some devices from world vendors, and the following are affected, like Cisco, Ubiquiti, LTE, and so on. Why we started LCDPwn research? Many of you may have heard of CDPwn. Yeah, it's the origin of our work. The CDPwn research conducted by the Armis lab in 2020 shed light on the severe impact of attack surface exposed by the CDP protocol. It contained 5 zero-day vulnerabilities, 4 of which could be used to achieve code execution. Also, it affected a wide array of Cisco products, including switches, routers, IP cameras, and IP phone. While learning CDPwn research, several questions came to our mind. Were these vulnerabilities were fixed? Was the early variant? What about other vendors? Or it's just Cisco's own business? To answer this question, our journey started. Alright, we have a general idea of LCDPwn and its background. Let's move on to the next part. In part 2, I'll cover the basics about CDP and LLDP protocol to give you a general understanding. According to the CDPwn research, some common layer 2 protocols used on network appliances are as follows. Among them, 2 discovery protocols named CDP and LLDP are the focus of our LCDPwn research. By the way, besides these 2 protocols, there are other vendor-specific discovery protocols, such as Extreme Discovery Protocol for extreme devices, let-go switch discovery protocol for let-go devices, micrological label discovery protocol for micrological devices. Since the CDP and LLDP protocols are widely used, we only concentrate on these two at the moment. As mentioned before, CDP is a Cisco proprietary protocol used for collecting directly connected label device information, like hardware, software, device name details, and so on. It has two versions. At the moment, the V2 version is the most recent release and provides more features than version V1. Therefore, it's more prevalent on Cisco devices. The following is an example of CDP frame format. As we can see, the CDP layer is above the Ethernet layer and the logical linker control layer, with a prototype 2000. As for the CDP PDU, it starts with 3 fields, namely version, time to life, and checksum, then followed by a list of type length menu pairs. The description for each field are as follows. Among them, the TOV part is the key to the CDP packet and used for querying information to meet different needs. Each TOV contains type, length, and value field independently. Some common used TOVs are listed as follows, such as device ID TOV indicates the device name, addresses TOV contains network addresses for both receiving and sending devices. After familiar with the CDP protocol, let's take a look at another similar protocol called Link Layer Discovery Protocol. Compared with CDP protocol, LLDP protocol is more general and vendor independent. And since LLDP is an open standard, it is supported on most vendors' network devices. The following is an example of LLDP frame format. As can be seen, the LLDP layer is above the Ethernet 2 layer with Ethernet type 88CC. As for LLDP PDU, it contains a list of type, length, and value pairs. Similarly, some common used TOVs are listed as follows, such as chassis ID TOV indicates the chassis. Management address TOV indicates the address used to assist the discovery by network management. At the end of part 2, the differences between these two protocols are discussed. From security perspective, two main differences between them are TOV order and TOV length. As for TOV order, there are no explicit requirements in CDP protocol, while in LLDP protocol, it must start with chassis ID, port ID, and time to life TOV in the correct order. As for TOV length, it seems more interesting. In CDP protocol, the length of each TOV includes the type and length field, and is ranged from 4 to FFFF, while in LLDP protocol, the length of each TOV excludes the type and length field, and its range is from 0 to 1FF. After having a general understanding of CDP and LLDP protocol, let's move on to the most important part. As mentioned before, CDPwn research is the origin of our work. When learning CDPwn research, firstly, we started by analyzing the 5 0-day vulnerabilities. During this process, we are familiar with the code for parsing CDP packets, and also learned some vulnerability patterns. Then, we conducted an in-depth analysis against the code to parse CDP packets again, and found another 20 bugs in 5 types of devices, including NX-OS switch, iOS XR router, IP camera, and analog telephone adapter. Among them, some can be used to achieve code execution. Next, I'll show some interesting vulnerabilities found in this stage. First, start with an out-of-bound write vulnerability affecting Cisco IP phone. It can be triggered by sending a CDP packet containing multiple addresses TOV. The IP conference phone 7834 with version 14.11 is used in this example. On the right is an example of CDP packet containing addresses TOV. In CDP binary, CDP receive packet function is responsible for parsing the received CDP packets. Here we only care about the logic to parse addresses TOV. It will do proper validation on fields and copy corresponding contents into a large buffer. Since an addresses TOV can contain multiple IP address items, when parsing these items, there are two exit conditions. One is variable v24 bigger than 1. If it matches, the code won't parse the remaining IP address items if it exists. The other is the normal exit. If the count of parsed IP address items equal to number of address, it means all the IP address items have been parsed. Then the routing for this addresses TOV is done. As for single addresses TOV, the above logic works well. However, if a CDP packet contains multiple addresses TOV, then there is a flaw. The key point here is that the variable v24 is initialized at the beginning, earlier than the loop to parse TOVs. Let's look at it in detail. In case 1, only one addressed TOV exists in the CDP packet, and it contains 3 IPv6 address items. The if condition won't satisfy, and all the 3 IPv6 address items will be parsed. Since v24 is always 0, although we can parse many IPv6 address items, the copy operation won't cause out-of-bound write. The logic works well in this case. In case 2, there is also only one addressed TOV, while it contains 3 IP address items. The if condition will satisfy, and 2 IP address items will be parsed. The v24 will be 2, and won't cause out-of-bound write either. What about multiple addresses TOV? In this case, there are 3 addressed TOV, and each addressed TOV contains only one IP address item. When parsing the first addressed TOV, the if condition will satisfy, and the variable v24 will be 1. Then the routing exits normally. Then when parsing the second addressed TOV, v24 will be updated, and the routing exits due to v24 bigger than 1. In the loop for parsing TOVs, it will continue to parse the third addressed TOV. Variable v24 will be updated to 3. Hence, we break the logic. If we corrupt a CDP packet contains multiple addressed TOV like this, then we can increase the variable v24 continually, thus causing out-of-bound write. Since variable s points to a buffer on stack, we can even overwrite a return address on stack. Next one is CVE 2022-2846, which affects the Cisco iOS XR router. It's a heap overflow vulnerability when parsing addressed TOV. However, due to the limitation on the bytes can be written, achieving code execution may be hard. iOS XR router with version 7.4.2 is used in this example. On the right is an example of CDP packet containing addresses TOV. In CDP binary, the logic to parse CDP packet is not as explicit as others. In CDP events entry common function, we can see the patch for format string vulnerability CVE 2020-3118. In this same function, there is a loop used for copying converted IP address strings into a heap buffer. What's interesting is that the size of heap buffer is fixed, while the loop condition depends on the number of address fields from CDP packet. If we craft an IP address with a big number of address values, thus we can cause heap overflow on coin memory copy at 1. Since the copied contents are from the result of ILEN-TOP function, the bytes can be written are restricted, thus make the exploitation harder. The third one is CV 2021-1131, which affects the Cisco 8000 server's IP camera. Also, it's a heap overflow vulnerability when parsing addresses TOV, and may be used to achieve code execution. Video surveillance 8020 IP camera with release 1.0.95 is used in this example. In CDPD battery, the CDPD handle address TOV is responsible for handling addresses TOV. In this function, it will first get the size of total IP address items by subtracting it from TOV length at 1. Then allocate a buffer based on number of address fields at 2. In the following loop, it will try to parse the contained IP address item and copy its contents into allocated buffer. In the loop, there are multiple exit conditions. However, they all depend on the payload length validation. Remember that the size of allocated buffer depends on the number of address fields. That's the point. Since the exit condition of loop depends on the TOV length field, if we craft an IP address TOV with a large TOV length and a small number of address value, then we can cause heap overflow on coin memory copy at 4. So far, when studying the CDPwn research, we learned many vulnerability patterns from both the original and the newly found vulnerabilities. What's more, we have a better understanding of the CDP protocol format. What about the LLDP protocol? Compared with CDP protocol, LLDP protocol is more general and vendor independent. It can be used on most of the vendor's network devices. With the knowledge obtained from previous stage, we continue to investigate the implementation for parsing LLDP packets on network devices. Our work in this stage can be divided into 3 steps: vendor selection, device selection, and bug hunting. To be honest, the bug hunting part is straightforward and relatively easy, while the first 2 steps are tedious. Let's take a close look at each step. The first step is vendor selection. The purpose is to get a list of vendors which supports LLDP feature on its devices. We approach it in 2 ways. The first is to find and check the corresponding documents from vendors, including product catalog and device specification. Some vendors provide a product catalog, which includes all its products and related parameters. If no such catalog exists, we seek to the device specification to check if it supports LLDP feature or not. The other is to search related string in our firmware database, such as LLDP, round TOV length, TOV error, and so on. The next step is device selection. We approach it in 2 dimensions: vendor and device firmware. As for vendor, it should be well known, so that its devices will be widely used. Then the vendor should have a public way to receive bug reports and open to them. As for firmware, since we mainly conducted this research by static analysis, the device firmware should be available without actual contract or license needed. Moreover, the device firmware can be unpacked easily or with small efforts. With a list of target devices, the next is bug hunting. Since there are many different devices, static analysis is our main approach. Of course, dynamic analysis is used for verification if necessary. We choose to use emulation instead. As for packet construction, the powerful scaping framework is used. During this research, several common LLDP components are found in firmware from a wide variety of network devices. Among them, the first 4 are from open source projects, and the last 3 are closed source components. What's more, nearly 50 bugs are found in a wide variety of devices. Among them, some are common in LLDP components, others are introduced by the vendor. The type of found bugs includes buffer overflow, entity underflow, memory leak, and so on. The following are the CV IDs related to LLDP at the moment. Of course, there are some limitations in our research. On the one hand, since static analysis is our main approach, although the device firmware contains affected LLDP components, it might not be actually used on the device. Fortunately, when we report these bugs to vendors and communicate with them, most of our bugs are valid and have been fixed. On the other hand, due to our target selection strategy, some vendors and devices may be omitted. There is a high probability that the actual impact will be much larger. Next, I'll discuss several common LLDP components and some vulnerabilities inside them in detail. The first and open source component is LLDPD. It's an 802.1ab implementation to help locate labels of all equipment. According to our research, this component is widely used in devices from vendors like Cisco, Ubiquiti, and so on. Moreover, it's even in the package listed on systems like Ubuntu and FreeBSD. There are some vulnerabilities in this component in the past. Among them, 3 are related to LCDP protocol. CVE 2015-8011 is a critical buffer overflow vulnerability, occurred when passing management address TOV. On the left is an example of LLDP packet containing management address TOV. Inside it, there is a field named address string length, which indicates the total length of address subtype and the management address field. On the right is the fix for this buffer overflow vulnerability. As we can see, before copying data with address string length set into address string buffer, a length validation is added on the address string length field. Pretty straightforward. As you may think, since this is an end-day vulnerability from 6 years ago and has already been fixed, it shouldn't exist in nowadays. However, it's not the truth. During our research, it turned out that this vulnerability still exists in 2021. For example, the R510AP from Rux Networks with this release version suffers from this buffer overflow vulnerability. And the RV132W VPN router from Cisco with this release version also suffers from this buffer overflow vulnerability. Interesting, the end-day vulnerability from 6 years ago still survives in 2021, let alone the memory leak vulnerability found in 2020. The second component is the LLDP implementation in Open vSwitch project. Open vSwitch is suited to function as a virtual switch in virtual machine environments and supports LLDP feature. Its LLDP implementation comes from the previous LLDPD project and with some customer changes. This module is found in products like Storage-Last, VMware NSXT, and so on. Since it comes from the LLDPD project, it suffers from the same vulnerabilities as LLDPD. As we can see, the older buffer overflow vulnerability was not fixed until November 2020. On the other hand, although these vulnerabilities were fixed in the Open vSwitch project, it doesn't mean that the products using this module also fix them. Besides those vulnerabilities coming from LLDPD project, its custom changes also introduce extra vulnerabilities. Take the following code as an example. In LLDP decode function, if TOV type equal to 7F, the routine will reach 1, where TOV length is validated. Then, if work ID equal to 040D and the TOV subtype equal to C, then at 3, 36 will be subtracted from TOV length, and the result will be assigned to variable number mapping, which will be used to control the loop condition later. However, the validation at 1 only ensures that the TOV length should be bigger than or equal to 4. If we craft an organizationally specific TOV with TOV length equal to 5, then we can call the integer unflow at 3 and lead to out-of-bound rate at 4. Lex component Open LLDP is also an open source project and was found in devices from Moxa, TrainNet, and so on. Also, it's in the package listed on FreeBSD system. As we can see from its source code page, the latest version is 0.4 alpha, and the last modified time is June 2010, almost a 10 years outdated project. After auditing the source code, several vulnerabilities were found, such as long pointer dereference, integer unflow, heap overflow, and so on. In Rx process frame function, when parsing the LLDP packets, actually there are many validations. However, when validations fail, it will do nothing except increasing the variable beta frame, and the routine will continue. This behavior leads to these vulnerabilities. So far, we have talked about 3 open source projects. The next one is a closed source component called L2G LLDP.GitHub. As its name indicates, it's a loadable kernel module. This module is used in switches from Cisco, Ubiquiti, Draytech, and so on. Several vulnerabilities were found in this module, like integer unflow, buffer overflow, out-of-bound rate. Take the Cisco Small Business Smart Switch as an example. CV 2021-34780 is a buffer overflow vulnerability occurred when passing the TIA TR41 committee TOV. The smart switch with version 1.2.0.6 is used in this example. On the right is an example of LLDP packet containing TIA TR41 committee TOV. In LLDP packet Rx function, in the following loop, it will get TOV type and TOV length field, then call check TOV length function to do validation. If it satisfies and TOV type equal to 7F, the routine will reach 2. If org util code is 12BB, org subtype and the loc date format are both equal to 3, then the routine will reach 5. Where variable v73 will point to the offset BB8 from 138 buffer, and 5 will be subtracted from TOV length and assigned to 74. Then these 2 variables will be passed to memory copy at 7. However, at for TOV type 7F, the range of TOV length is from 4 to 1FF, while the remaining size of this buffer is 7C when calling memory copy. It's possible to cause buffer overflow at 7. In addition, you may notice that there is a large integer unflow vulnerability at 6. The last component we will talk is switch DRVR. is also a closed source component and found in switch from Ubiquiti and Letgear. This module suffers from vulnerabilities like buffer overflow and out-of-bound read. Take the Ubiquiti switch US16150W model with version 4.3.22 as an example. In LLDP PDO receive process function, parse TOV type length function will be called to get TOV type and TOV length field. If TOV type equal to 8, function sub 261444 will be called at 1. In this function, address string length will be read at 2. Then address string length -1 will be shifted to memory pointed by A1 plus 1. Later, there will be a validation on this value at 3. If it is satisfied, in normal cases, memory copy will be called at 4. What's interesting is that the maximum of size can be 1F, while the maximum size of this buffer is only 1C. It's possible to cause buffer overflow when calling memory copy. During this stage, we learned some new vulnerability patterns related to LLDP packet parsing. Also, we get a better understanding of the LLDP protocol format. At the end of this part, we will give a glimpse of the IEEE standard 802.1ab and see how these vulnerabilities violate it. The LLDP protocol is formally referred to by the IEEE as the Station and Media Access Control Connectivity Discovery specified in IEEE 802.1ab. The standard has 3 versions, 2005, 2009, and 2016. In addition, the amended DH 2021 adds support to transmit and receive LLDP TOVs that exceed the space available in a single frame. However, this feature seems not to be used on network appliances yet, so we'll focus on the 2016 version. The standard has explicit definition to the basic management TOV, such as TOV order, TOV repetition, management address TOV information string length, and management address length. In addition, the corresponding IEEE standard also have explicit definition to organizationally specific TOV, like VLAN nameless information string, location identification TOV, location ID string length, and the location data format type values. According to our study, the following is a summary of how this LLDP implementation violates the standard. The last part is a summary of this talk. LCDPwn is a series of zero-day vulnerabilities found in Layer 2 protocol, CDP, and LLDP. What we can learn from it? First, variant analysis is cool. On the one hand, we can try to look into the same implementations to find more bugs. On the other hand, it can be done on a broad level, such as looking into similar protocols or components, or the same implementation on different devices or systems. Next, software build of materials are important in software security and software supply chain. Take Cisco as an example. As for CDP feature, there are at least 8 different implementations on its various products. And as for LLDP feature, there are also at least 5 different implementations. Since each product team has different responsibilities, when one of the products has security issue, it's not easy to determine whether other products suffer from same issue or not. After having software build of material, it's recommended to keep components up to date and avoid using outdated components if possible. Finally, we should pay attention to the OEM software. and the impact will be amplified if vulnerability exists inside it. Okay, that's all I shared today. Wish you all have a harvest. Thanks for listening.